Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive Podcast. This is also Collab Podcast, man, with the good people with the Big Doug and Carmi show. Obviously, y'all know the faces. Y'all are familiar with them. Big Doug and George Carmi is joining myself, Dre, and AJ on this episode, man. A training camp primer for the Commanders, man. Let me go ahead and check in with everybody right quick, man. Doug, George, what's going on with y'all? How y'all feeling?
Doing good. You sent the invite. We were pumped about it. So this has been a long time in the making. Should have happened sooner. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, feeling good, man. Long overdue. Happy to be here, bro.
Yeah. AJ,
hey, look, hey, real quick, George, I love our intro. That thing right there was hit.
Fresh. Yeah, it's so nice.
Yes.
Shout out to, you know who it is, everybody that's been around. Shout out to Montez and, you know, the people that got that thing done. Dre, what's going on with you? AJ, what's up?
I'm good, man. Look, I actually found some shit to do while we've been on break. I done got back into my Wizards. I'm in full basketball mode right now. You know what I'm saying? They done made me love them again, Maul. Like now I'm all in. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Dre, you gotta be careful because you know I've been around. I've been around long enough to know how you. It's real easy for you, bro.
It's a little different this time though. They've been making so many moves. Like the last couple years, it's been like, all right. You know, I know we're going to be in this little rebuilding state, this rebuilding mode. So I wasn't going to be invested in every game, but I'm paying attention to the moves. But now I'm loving what they doing, man. They going out. They're actually kind of moving like the Commanders been moving these last couple of years. So fully invested now, even if they're going to lose, which they should. But I'm invested.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna let you have your, you know. I'm here with you when they doing good, but I'm my primary mob is the team that we talking about.
I already know how you do, Maul.
yeah. All right, fellas, man. Like you said, Doug, Big Doug, it's been a long time coming. I know we've always like behind the scenes tried to schedule some things together, so it's really good to kind of chop things up as we get into honestly first off a really good team, right? And after an impressive 2024 season. But also going into a second year where, you know, we're not talking about a quarterback situation anymore. It's all about other things and other storylines moving forward. Because this team does have question marks, but there's also things to be excited about, right? And then I think about the biggest concern on the table to date, right? Is let's kind of kick things off with the Terry situation. He's among several people, honestly, that you know is in a quote unquote contract year. You think about Marshawn Lattimore's contract situation. You think about Deebo Samuel's contract situation. There's a couple others, Laramie Tunsil, and other people that you know are kind of vying for the same type of respect from the Commanders or any team that's willing to pay them. Dre, your time has come. You know, you said what about a month, or I think you said you gave about a month to kind of figure things out, or that you think he'd be signed. Me and AJ took the over. I'm gonna toss the floor to you all. What do you all feel like as of July 7th, 2025? Where are you at with Terry and their ability to get this done? And then we can kind of transition into like the contract situation with him and others on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off. I think you see a lot of people within the fan base, other media outlets, and stuff of that nature from a local standpoint, saying that they're not necessarily concerned. A lot of fans, yeah, they're clamoring for it to get done and see that breaking news on the bottom of a ticker. And they're not really concerned, but they wanted to get done. I think that there should be legitimate concern. I think that people are not realizing that they've been having this discussion since the season ended. Like, this isn't a discussion that just took place a month ago or before, during the draft. Like, this has been an ongoing thing since the offseason started for Washington. Like, they've been trying to sit down at the table and get to a fair number for both sides. But at the end of the day, during early stages of the offseason, some wide receivers got new deals. Whether it be the Jamar Chases of the world, the T. Higgins, the DK Metcalfs getting moved from Seattle to Pittsburgh, and other guys, Chris Godwin. Like, it's been a lot of movement money-wise in the NFL when it comes to wide receivers. So when you look at that landscape, you have to ask yourself, I don't have any insight to Terry's end, but you have to wonder if they're just far apart on numbers overall, not even guarantees. Just is Terry looking for a DK Metcalf deal? Over the weekend, I sat down and looked at DK Metcalf's career stats in comparison to Terry. They're comparable as far as like catches, yardage, but when it comes to touchdowns, DK has 10 more touchdowns than him. Then you also add in the fact DK's 27 years old, whereas Terry is approaching 30 years old in like 2 more months in September to kick off the season. So it's like the Pittsburgh Steelers also had to do that because they traded assets to go and acquire DK Metcalf. So now you're wondering, where is this deal truly going to fall into play? And I think that people should be concerned if that's, something that they're really looking forward to. I still predict that the deal doesn't get done. I think that they might guarantee Terry this year on the contract. Same thing they did with Debo in the trade that happened with San Francisco because he didn't have any guarantee money. I think they guarantee him and they let it play out. I think Washington is in a peculiar situation from a roster construction standpoint. They need to get younger at wide receiver. So even next year, their primary focus probably in the first round is going to be wide receiver and then defensive end. And right now, they don't have anyone on the roster that has stepped up as far as like a young player like a Luke McCaffrey to say, hey, we can bank or we can continue to develop this guy to be a possible number 2 or number 1. We really have to bank on veterans. So the offseason next year is going to be heavily dedicated to free agency market or draft at that position. And I just don't think that they look at Terry the same way that the local area looks at Terry. I think he's a solid player, but he is not worth $34 million a year. And that's just my opinion.
First of all, real quick, if you didn't know, George is taking notes. So be careful because he's not going to play. He will come back and be ready.
I was collecting my thoughts. Yeah.
I seen him on his Brian Gumble.
Exactly. Go ahead.
If DK Metcalf's worth 34, why wouldn't Terry want 34? Why would his agent look at the wide receiver room and say, you're trying to win football games? Are you not going to pay him? They've got to pay him. Debo comes up next. So this idea that they can play this game, I think is dangerous. It reminds me of what the Bengals have tried to do. I don't think that's what they're going to do here. I am curious, Ben, maybe nobody knows, but when did they sign Ayuk? That to me, like you talk about when Terry got his deal last time, it doesn't matter that those aren't these people. So I'd be curious to know when Ayuk got his deal. I think it was kind of late.
Real
and,
late.
And that's what I'd be concerned about if we're getting close to that date and nothing's happens. But listen, I've always said I think 3 years, 90 million with 60 guaranteed, or 98 million, whatever gets them close to 34. My understanding is that it's the guarantees, right? The guarantees are where they are far apart. And I'm sure he wants 3 years before he get back to the market. But I don't know how you can tell everybody that you're being serious and not sign Terry.
I could jump in. I think I like what AJ said. I think the offseason affected the market, right? We're seeing all these different wide receivers. Jamar Chase reset the market with the wide receivers. We saw DK Metcalf get a deal. We saw Mike Evans get a deal. And I think the parameters for where Terry McLaurin is going to fall is going to be DK Metcalf or Mike Evans, right? Mike Evans has a more proven track record. He's 8-10 years of straight 1,000-yard seasons. He's produced more and at a pretty inexpensive contract. So I think he's going to fall there. You brought up a good point, Doug. I think Adam Peters with the 49ers, they tend to drag out these contracts. We see it with Brendan Ayuk. We saw it with Deebo Samuel. We saw it with Bosa. Like, they take a long time dragging things out. I think he's taken that mentality and bringing that over to Washington, D.C. I'm not worried about Terry. I think he's going to get re-signed. I think he's either going to get re-signed or at worst, he's going to get a franchise tag next year. There's no consequence to have a franchise tag. I think the team and the fan base wants him here. I don't see him going anywhere. In regard to that, I think with contracts, I think they have like a parameter where they want to sign him. Like, I think he's a $30 million wide receiver, but I think they're just nailing out the nuance now, the guarantees, the money during the third year, how that money's going to break down over 3 years. I think that's kind of where they're at right now. And then finally, I know you were talking about DK the past couple of days. AJ, do you think DK is a better wide receiver than Terry McLaurin?
Do I think? I
Be
think.
honest,
I think.
he's scared.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. They're both guys with some limitations in their game, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I think if I really had to break it down, if I had to go with the traits, it'd be DK. I mean, they both aren't great route runners.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I can't teach DK's size and his speed,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And we also have to factor in age. Like, I don't think that DK is an elite wide receiver, but if I had to pick between the two right now in July of 2025, I would rock with DK.
I got you.
I mean, and that's not to, poo-poo on Terry. I just think that DK has better traits to him. If we were breaking it down, a different guy that was like a route runner, like specialist, I would still take that guy over them. But they're so inefficient.
Okay.
Like it's just like, DK's like 6'4", 6'5", and Terry's like 6 feet, and they pretty much kind of do the same thing, just look different.
Hold on.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Hold on.
That big.
Now, what? He's 6'4", 6'5", but I don't think there's. If I had to like sit down and actually do this instead of like a live show, I don't know if I can name 5 better receivers that's like as tough in the one-on-one situation than Terry. And DK ain't gonna be in them. He ain't gonna be in them, boy. He ain't gonna be in that. He ain't gonna be in them 5.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna be in that. He ain't gonna be ahead of Terry. So like I don't, and I say that because I don't see anything that DK does significantly better. Like they both are decent at yak. The only difference between Terry and DK after the catch is that DK is more physical because he's strong as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But they both get yak. Like I don't know like what the only thing that separates them would be at the catch point. Like DK ain't super strong at the catch point, and the fact that he's 6'4", 250, he should be.
Yeah, he comes off as a one-trick pony to me, for real. I feel like DK Metcalf is a vert wide receiver. He's physical wide receiver, but Terry's more of a diverse route runner. Speaking of yak, I kind of broke this down a little bit. So Terry McLaurin averages 4.5 yards after the catch. DK Metcalf 4.1. Drops, Terry has 24 drops on his career. DK Metcalf have 37. Drop percentage, 3.3 for Terry McLaurin, 5.1 for DK. Interceptions thrown, when the quarterback throws the ball towards a wide receiver, 15 to Terry, 17 to DK Metcalf. more receptions for Terry, more yards for Terry. The only thing is touchdowns for DK Metcalf. But for me, I think Terry's a more well-rounded wide receiver.
What, DK has 48 touchdowns?
He has 40 to 38. But then he played with Russell Wilson too. Russell Wilson for Seattle too. So
look, AJ was ready, boy. Like,
I mean,
go for it.
I told you he was taking notes.
I don't want to. But I also want us to remember that DK was also playing alongside a Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, he's a good player.
So it's like it's not like he was being force fed the ball either. Like it was him making plays, whereas Terry has been the best wide receiver his entire tenure with Washington. They haven't had anyone
and didn't have a Russell Wilson quarterback.
But he still ain't been force fed. Yeah. Right? He don't get that many receptions. I shouldn't have done this with ice in my mouth.
You're right there. You're right. Exactly. You're right, Jamal. You're right there. You're right. Yeah.
But I mean, so I guess before Dre goes, are we sitting here saying that the same contract that DK Metcalf received is the same contract if you were Adam Peters, you'd be willing to give him today to sign, like Terry McLaurin to sign?
I'll be quick with mine. I'll just say I think it's important to note part of this conversation was asking if you thought DK was better than Terry. And I disagree with that. The question from a financial standpoint does come around like how much are you willing to pay? Like what is the cap? Like from an AAV standpoint, what is the cap? And truthfully, I don't know what they're thinking, which is honestly none of my business. And I'm not even stressed out about it in real life. I do not care. Like that's not my business. But if there was a number that they got, like if there was a deal and I said, oh, they did too much, I would say 34 plus would be that. But again, ain't none of my business right now. I don't care. Get the deal done and we can worry about the rest later.
Can I throw something out there? What is too much? And like, why does it even matter, right? Salary cap's blowing up every single year. Netflix deals going on, Amazon going on. Like everything, and I think the salary cap can be bended at any given point, right? Does it really matter 33 versus 35 in your opinion? Anybody on here?
Actually, and to your point, he got paid a 3-year deal a couple years ago, and how bad did it hurt Washington in? I mean, like today, I don't think that
plenty of salary cap money.
It may be a flawed argument, but I'm just saying, like, still 3 years later, like certain deals just don't hurt your team, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, now it's bumped up to. I think at the time when Terry signed his extension, the wide receiver market was around like the 23, 24, 25 range. Now you're talking about 34. Like, yeah, the salary cap is going up, but do you expect him to project to do better than what he did last season as far as touchdowns, receiving yards? Like that's the key element here. Also, when you add in a Deebo Samuel, who also needs a deal. So if Deebo does what you project him to do in the trade that you made, it's like you're in a peculiar situation with the other guys that we mentioned, the Marshawn Lattimores, the Lermy Tunstall's needing new deals. Frankie Louvu goes into his last year of the deal next year. Tyler Biadasz, Dorrance Armstrong. Like you have because the roster was so effed up, you got a lot of guys coming up on their last year of their contract. So that's I think that's what is going on. I ultimately don't know what happens. I put some tweets out there. I would trade Terry for TJ Watt if that was feasible. Like I would just move on. But you know, I know that San Francisco also wanted Terry McLaurin in that deal for Brandon Ayuk, and they said no. So
well, it was just 3 months ago that Adam Peters was on with Kay Adams talking about Terry McLaurin's going to be here for a long time. And what you never hear is GMs going on anybody's podcast and talking about a player and how long they may or not be on the team. There was literally no reason to say that. So I'll take him for his word at it.
Dre, you got the last thoughts on this. And let's get to some of the other contracts out there.
Honestly, I don't have anything else to add on Terry. I think we touched on everything. I'm not going to add nothing new to this conversation.
Say no more.
Yeah, I'm good.
So now you scared because your deadline that you set.
No, and I work in the contract world, AJ. We get extensions in the contract.
Here we go.
All right, so look though, how are we feeling? Like we mentioned Tunsil, Lattimore, Payne, Debo, B-Rob. I think I'll give y'all the floor. Like, what do y'all think about like the of those groups, like or of those names, like which of those people in that group is like the priorities versus somebody we can like pass off for a year or two?
I mean, it's got to be Tunsil, right? I mean, just the assets given up to acquire him says it's Tunsil.
I would agree.
So so going into this conversation, I think it's Laramie Tunsil is a free agent next year. We have Deebo Samuel, Marshawn Lattimore, Deron Payne, Brian Robinson. I think if you rank them, Brian Robinson probably the lowest on the poll. I don't know how you guys feel about B-Rob. I know we're going to talk about him later on the show. I think he's a pretty solid running back, but he's a replaceable running back. He can definitely go a different direction with it. Lattimore is the key, man. If Lattimore is actually legit, I think he can elevate our team to like a championship level. It can be very competitive, but I just don't know where he is. We played 2 games in the regular season, got cooked in the playoffs. I just don't know where he's at there. He had some feistiness to him, but he seemed to be injured, seemed to be taken over by A.J. Brown. I don't know about all that. I think Laramie Tunsil, you have to lock him up. If you're going to trade all those assets, a second and a fourth round pick for Laramie Tunsil, you got to lock him up. I mean, it's a waste of money if you don't do that. And then the question that Doug keeps on bringing up, and I agree, is what are you going to do with Deebo? And Adrian kind of hit on this too. Like, are you going to sign 2 big wide receivers? You're going to sign McLaurin and Deebo to large deals going into next year. Is that financially responsible? Got to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tunsil definitely he has 2 years, but the following year is no guarantee. I think Tunsil gets an extension before regular season, before week 1. I mean, I think when you trade those type of assets for premier left tackle, I mean, we're talking about ranking the best players on Washington's organization. It's Jaden Daniels and it's Laramie Tunsil as far as their reputation across the league. So when you make a trade of that nature, you have to extend him. I know we had a conversation with a beat reporter for ESPN for the Texans, and he was like, Laramie's not necessarily focused on the money right now, but at the end of the day, money talks, bullshit walks. And if you're a premier left tackle and you exceed, once again, when you trade for a player, you're projecting them to exceed within your culture and your system and the production on the field and everything of that nature. So if you think so, if you think that Laramie Tunsil is that dude, you might as well lock him up now before he has this amazing season. What if you do win the Super Bowl? Then, like, it's just like you have to just think of that. So I think that Laramie is definitely first. Like you said, George, B-Rob is not even on my paper. If I was taking notes, wouldn't even be on my paper.
Hey, an anonymous GM came out.
I saw that.
Ranked him as a top 10 back. He may got a little something to add to his resume, bro.
Hey, that GM was Adam Peters.
Yeah, good luck. He hit the open market. He signed it for $3 million. So, but yeah, I think another key element, Marshawn Lattimore. What type of season does he have? Because if he ends up balling out, you're talking about a corner not resetting the market, but at least being able to get up to like the 23, 24 number per year. But it's a lot of decisions for Adam Peters, and I think that this is one of the main portions of the job that we haven't seen from him in his time with Washington yet. We've seen him have to draft and do the free agency thing, but when you also do those things and you make these type of trades, this is the big portion of the job that comes with it. How are you going to handle those contract negotiations? And, for Adam, he has a great rapport with a lot of the agents in the NFL space or whatever, but it's like, hey, you got some tough decisions to make here, with perennial left tackle, a perennial cornerback, perennial wide receivers, because Deebo doesn't have an extension and Terry doesn't have an extension as of right now. What are you going to do? And I think this is where we truly get to judge Adam Peters' decision making. And I think we also got to be mindful of what we hear him say in these interviews. If Tom Brady can be gone from the Patriots, man, it's not safe for anybody.
Maul and Dre, how do y'all feel about Marshawn Lattimore? I don't know if I had that pulse from you guys. Were you guys happy about the trade? Do you think he played pretty well last year? Do you disappointed in what's going on?
When he said he was hurt last year.
Yeah.
He was hurt.
Well, Dre, go ahead. Dre, you go ahead first.
No, I mean, for Marshawn, I was excited about the trade because obviously we've seen what he's accomplished in New Orleans. But then last year it was okay. He's dealing with the injury, and the hamstring is something that we've kind of seen him deal with in the past with New Orleans. He comes here, it's a thing. Then when he plays, it's like, okay, we're not getting the player that we thought we were getting, which is fine, okay, because I can buy the whole injury thing. But then I was a little, honestly, I mean, I was a little off put by the not showing up to well, OTAs, whatever. And normally that's not a big deal to me. I really don't care. But just because of what I saw from him last year, it just made me feel like, all right, are we getting a dud? Like, did New Orleans sell us a lemon? So it was those concerns. But then him showing up the mini camp, he was in shape, obviously. And, everyone said he looked good. So maybe we are getting the player we thought we were getting, and I do hope so. Like, I'm not one of those players that's going to go out there and root against the guy for whatever reason. Like, I need the guy to be good. Like, because if he's good, this secondary is, the secondary we need this defense to be the improved defense that we need. Because we're going to be going against, AJ Brown again, and Malik Neighbors. We're going to see CD Lamb. The division is tough. So you go out and get a Lattimore to kind of compete against these guys, but. Again, hopefully all of the reports are good, that he came out in minicamp, he was ready to go, he's in shape, and hopefully that carries over to the season, and hopefully we can kind of get rid of this soft tissue hamstring bug that he's kind of dealt with and was plagued with throughout his career. But overall, it's a wait and see thing. I mean, I know we were just talking about the contracts and who's the priority. Now, obviously, the assumption would be Tunsil in that regard, but I do think that this season is going to be a kind of wait and see for a lot of these guys. With Debo, Lattimore, Tunsil, all of these guys are kind of, on a wait and see thing. But I do think we assume that Tunsil is going to be the guy that, rises to the top of the priority list because he plays the most important position of those guys. And we also gave up a lot of assets for those guys. But overall, I'm looking forward to Marshawn this year. I'm anxious to see him go out there and return to former form.
For me, I'll be quick with mine. I was in favor of the trade. I liked the deal. Thought he played like some shit last year. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think the way AJ got into his head and the way that AJ got into his head and the way Mike Evans got into his head, like those two, like was like real, like yo, like can we lock in, bro? Can we understand what's at stake here? Like that's what I'm thinking, and I really can't even communicate it because I'm literally just talking to a TV. But like that's kind of where I'm at last season. And then like what Dre said is I'm cool, like understanding that the people who was there reporting on it said that he I mean I heard his pressure too, his post-practice pressures, like he feels better, he's moving a little bit better, more explosive, he can feel like the explosion coming back from a lower body standpoint, and we'll see where it goes from there. I don't know how much better that's going to make him on the field, but like if he's feeling more like himself again, then we can clean the slate. But like last year, AJ and Dre tell you why I ain't cut him no slack at all. Yeah. I didn't cut him any slack. But yeah, let's kind of keep things put. What's up?
Real quick before you do that, Jamal, we've been talking on our show a little bit, and I'm curious your thoughts when they're working through McLaurin and we're talking about contracts that got to come up with Debo. Are they worried that they're hustling against themselves on the Debo contract as well?
Definitely, because the way that Cliff ran the offense last year is really predicated to Debo Samuel's skill set the most over Terry McLaurin. Like it's like Debo could possibly have one of his best years career-wise from a receiving standpoint alone, just because of the quarterback play. And he's also now going to a team where he's like, you can almost say the second or third target versus being in San Francisco where you got CMC, Kettle, IU, Jennings. Mm-hmm. you got himself. Like it's just so much, and they're so run heavy over there that these crossers. I mean, we seen Dami Brown hit 500 yards, like for the first time in his career.
Like 300.
Yeah. Oh, he had 300. Okay, but we seen Zach Ertz get almost 700 receiving yards and over 80 targets. So that means the middle of the field is wide open. Zacchaeus did his thing. So I think that's what they got to be a little bit nervous about is like, hey, we could be negotiating against ourselves because what if this dude ends up doing what we project him to do in this offense? We've heard all offseason the coaches have raved about Debo. Like, oh, he's faster than what we thought. Like the things that he's going to do, even national wise, like other players and media outlets are like, damn, Debo in that offense is going to be killer. So I guess you have to worry about that because he needs a new deal. You know, you already guaranteed him what 19 or 21 million. I'm just talking off the top of my head. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But if you guaranteed him that coming into this trade, it got to get boosted. And him and Terry from the same draft class, around the same age. So yeah, it's kind of scary when you when you got to break it down that way. But it's feasible to pay 2 wide receivers. I mean, we see Philadelphia doing it. We see Miami doing it. We see Cincinnati doing it. It's just more so these guys are a bit older than the group of the wide receivers I just named.
But my thing is, I know we're talking about the contract situation and all, but I noticed that a lot of people, when they talk about Debo, and rightfully so, you talk about the offense and how it fits him perfectly. But I mean, we sit up here and talk about this ad nauseum. Don't you think opposing defenses are going to kind of be noticing this or knowing this? This is what Debo does. This is what Cliff does. And I say that to mean that this could be something opening for like a Terry to have an even bigger year with the focus on a Debo, from defenses, because you got to think they're going to probably play up when they see Debo on the field. Like when you see a Diami on the field, you don't know if he's going to run a straight go route or if he's just going to run a screen pass. Whereas a Debo, you're probably going to assume there's going to be something short more than it's going to be something across the middle of the field. And I say that to mean that Debo can even eat more on those deeper or more intermediate routes than just the short stuff. So, I mean, I know AJ, you kind of expected him to have this like huge year. I mean, he could, and I hope he does, but I do think that this could lend weight to other guys on the field because Debo can not only, be a threat in being who Debo is, but Debo could also be used as a decoy a lot of times on the field for other guys. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, he's the move. Like he's the one that shifts the defensive eyes. Actually, like that's a really good point, Dre, that I wasn't about to bring up, but I was like, damn, like we did that on the film session with Debo. Like that's literally all defenses do is like wherever Debo is, like they adjust and then they play shallow. Like they're expecting everything on that first and second level from Debo. And I don't know what this means, like from a statistical standpoint. I don't disagree with AJ that Cliff loves a Debo and he loves the idea of having something like that on his team and to have Debo himself on Cliff Kingsbury offense. Like, obviously that's something that he's been game planning or trying to game plan for a long time. So like, make no mistake, he ain't about to get shut down, but it's more so like, does this open up, opportunities for Terry? And to answer your question directly, I think they're kind of going at each other in a sense, Terry and Debo, but I think from a front office standpoint, it's important for them, like, and we talked about it. It's important for them not to get lost in that. Like that's a red herring, if I use that right. Like that's a distraction. You got to know how important Terry is to your team, to your organization, despite what Debo brings. Like that's something that's an addition, but it's not like one or the other. It can become that, like if that's how they play it. But I think that if they're smart enough, like there's a way to work both these guys into future contracts with Washington.
And Jamal, I know you're going to pivot. Let me say one quick thing. I think that what Adam Peters has done is make the roster very flexible. Like there's all these players on 1-year deals and remaining 1-year deals of Tunzel and Lattimore and Payne and all that. I think depending on who performs is going to get paid, right? Like Lattimore might be gone next year, Payne might be gone next year, and with that extra money, they can use it on Samuel if it's the ground running. I think there's potential there. So I don't know.
I think that's honestly, that was one thing I was going to touch on, but like we can actually save that conversation because that's actually a large conversation of the 1-year deals and roster construction. We can save that for another time, especially if we get another collab show going. But from B-Rob, we briefly touched on Brian Robinson and his contract situation, but like from a running back standpoint, I mean, it's B-Rob, Austin Eckler, your top two that you running it back with. You still have Jeremy McNichols, but you bring in Bill Merritt or Bill Crosby Merritt and Chris Rodriguez. Bring back Chris Rodriguez, excuse me. Like, where does B-Rob sit for the group? Minus AJ, I guess, because he kind of gave his hint. But yeah. But Doug and George, I want y'all to go ahead. Y'all got the floor first. Like, where does B-Rob sit in y'all mind? And is there any people behind him from a depth standpoint that can push for his time?
Go ahead, Doug. You got it.
George knows I'd speak about this too much on our show. I think Bob from the 7th round leads the team in touches somewhere in the middle of the season. I don't think they've had anybody quite that explosive in a long time. To me, quite frankly, if we're using a B-Rob type style, I like Chris Rodriguez better anyway. So I'm not as high on B-Rob as some. I think he's maybe average. But I'm telling you, that 7th rounder, if he played last year, was probably more like a 3rd or 4th rounder. And I think they got plans for him. They got to be, you know what they got to do? They got to be explosive this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about how many explosive plays they had last year. Not many, particularly for the running back spot. They need that. And Eckler's not getting any younger. So I think as far as touches, they're going to find a way to carve him out a role.
All right, I'll jump in here. Maybe I'm the outlier. Maybe you guys are going to be mad at me, but I think B-Rob's fine. I think they can improve and upgrade him. I think they will next year. But last year he had 799 yards. It was a career high. I think he missed 3 or 4 games. He was injured.
He was on his way to 1,000. I stand by that on this show. On his way.
He's on his way to 1,000. There's been, I looked at it earlier, for 3, he's had over 1,100 yards like combined with receiving and rushing over the past 3 years. So he's a decent running back. I don't think he's a game-changing running back. I think he's a better running back than we thought we were getting out of Alabama. If you guys remember, he had no yards after contact. He was very limited, no explosiveness, but he scores touchdowns here in DC. I think with our Ertz, with Samuel, with McLaurin, with all these different types of weapons, you just need a running back that can keep you in positive game script. And I think B-Rob will fall forward for 4 yards on first down and make the yards short and let us allow Jay Daniels to go forward on 4th down and just keep the chins moving. I don't think he's fantastic. I don't think he's elite by any means, but I think he's a solid running back. I think he's going to get the first dibs. I think people are saying that, Crosby Merritt's going to take his position after training camp. I don't see that at all. I think B-Rob's going to roll out week 1 as a starter. But I think as the year goes on, it's going to be kind of a play the hot hand thing, right? Like if Crosby Merritt has a couple of explosive shots, you're going to give him the ball more. Eckler, I think, is a good player. But Eckler, man, we all forget, 1 concussion might be out for the season, man. You don't mess with that mental health. He's been hit a couple times, so we'll see what happens there. But I say this to say B-Rob's fine. He's a fine running back, but I also keep my eyes open. If there's a running back that pops open during training camp or anything like that, then consider it. But that's where I'm at. What about you guys?
Anytime you refer to somebody as fine, he's fine. Makes you,
yeah.
But no, I think with B-Rob, this is a season where he's coming into. I do think he's going to get first dibs. As George said, I think it'll be his job to lose in a sense. But this is probably the year that he's going to get pushed the most. I mean, when he came into the league, he had Antonio Gibson here, and he was the one kind of pushing Antonio Gibson. Then Antonio Gibson leaves. It's Brian Robinson's job with pretty much no competition. They gave him the reins. But now you're at the point where you're saying, this guy hasn't solidified himself as a bona fide starting running back in this league. So that leaves him entering this year, in my opinion. This is the biggest season of his career because this is the season that he has to fight for his future. And what is that future going to be? I mean, I don't think he's not going to be out of the NFL by any means. But I think we're talking about what is his role going to be going forward? Is he going to be a starting running back in this league? Is he going to be viewed as a starter in this league? Or will you just start to view him as the Peyton Barber type of running back when you're talking about the running back by committee type of guy? So, this is a big season for him because I do think that he has to hold on to the job. While it might be his job to lose, I think they finally got somebody now in here with a build, even though you don't put that kind of expectation on a 7th round pick. But I do think you have that type of guy that can actually push a B-Rob. You didn't have that last year because you knew what Eckler's role was coming into last year. And then you had Rodriguez, who they just didn't appear to care much for early in the season. He was on the practice squad here and there. McNichols, we know that's a backup, but now it's a different situation. You have a running back kind of on Brian Robinson's heels. So how does he respond? Like, I'm wondering, does he respond like a Deron Payne in a contract year? You know, and if that's the case, then you're talking about, hey, maybe we did find something in B-Rob, even though there will be a little bit of doubt there that does he only perform when his back is up against the wall, or can we get this kind of consistency out of him going forward? So it's a big thing with B-Rob. I mean, right now I like him, but again, you know, he has to show that he can be consistent enough to keep this job, and not only just for this year, but can he be that guy going forward as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Jaden Daniels being such a dual threat and also leading this team in rushing, if you look around the league, these guys that are dual threats, from the Josh Allens to Lamar Jacksons to Jalen Hurts, they typically, as a group, rushing wise, are top in the league. And I think that a lot of the yardage that B-Rob did, you know, end up accomplishing last year was due to the threat of Jaden Daniels. I think he left a lot of yards out on the field because of the poor vision and the refusal to run north and south. Think he wants to dance too much. As a big man, he's not that agile. I think that there is an opportunity for someone to step up. I can't sit here and act like I know a bunch about Ja'Cory Croskett Merritt. I hate the fact that Bill is even this nickname. I don't even understand that shit. So I refuse to say Bill. But I mean, I think when you see the limited footage of him, from what I've seen, you do see explosiveness there. You do see someone that could possibly, you know,
Sorry.
he could possibly break a 40-yard run, a 60-yard run. You don't have that currently in your backfield from any of those guys, whether it be a McNichols, a C-Rod, or Eckler, unless it's just like someone, like it's just like a blown play altogether. That's the only way that that's going to get accomplished. I mean, B-Rob had he had his longest run of his career this year, which was one of those type
40.
of blown plays. Yeah, like I think it was against the Giants. And
Titans.
Oh, Titans, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like if that type of play doesn't happen, he's not gonna break one. He's not gonna get long yardage or whatever. So I think that the running back position is something to pay attention to in these preseason games. I think if Ja'Cory can go ahead and make a name for himself during the preseason, because he's gonna be able to get a lot of those carries. I mean, it's gonna be down to him. McNichols, is Wiley still on the
Wiley.
roster?
Yeah.
And
Wiley.
C-Rod. So Ja'Cory's gonna get an opportunity to show what he can do in between the tackles and outside. And we all know, like, Washington has had a situation like this in the past where Alfred Morris came in as a late round pick and was able to take away that job. I think it just boils down to, you know, who's gonna truly be coachable and who's actually gonna make plays on the field. I think B-Rob probably gets the nod, but that just may be by committee. I think it'll be who has the hottest hand during the game, because I could see the frustration that the coaching staff was having with B-Rob towards the end of last year. Like before the playoffs, like they were really like, "Hey man, what you doing? Like just keep running north and south." So we'll see, but I don't expect B-Rob to have this breakout season. I think his deficiencies in his game still exist. They're not going to change. Good luck to him on his next journey. I don't think it'd be here in Washington, but yeah, I got a strong opinion
I think
on B-Rob, and I think my boy Doug is with me a little bit, but maybe not as aggressive with it. But he's just a running back. Like he's just there. Like he's just a jag. Like that's how I truly look at him. Like he does nothing good in my opinion. Like he doesn't even run block good at his big ass size. Doesn't even pass protect good. Like it's just a position that I really had hoped that they were going to be able to upgrade sooner in the draft, not necessarily like 7th round.
This was a year to do it, to get a running back early in the draft. But that's what happened with the Lattimore trade. We gave away our picks. That's what happened.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think who is this that said this? Mr. Makeaway said it that I agree with. We like B-Rob, but we don't love him. Everybody's not in the we like part. I get that. I'm cool with that. I'm a part of the I like B-Rob. Like I have no problem with him. I understand like last year things changed for him when he started getting nicked up. Like I don't know exactly what all went in terms of like the physical, I mean the actual physical traits and the mental trait, I don't know. I have no idea. But I also know that B-Rob was always a physical runner. He was always among the top guys who had excellent contact balance and didn't go down off the first hit. Like what he was a rookie in 2022, I think, or something like that. And for every single season leading up to 2025, it was B-Rob getting every yard, every 1 or 2 or 3 yards that he gets. It was because he had to initiate it because the offensive line was trash. He's getting hit at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage and getting those tough yards. And there would be some times where he would get you like your 10 to 12 or your 20 here and there. I've always said that B-Rob was a guy who, speaking of the 40-yarders, I said he's the guy who can break one for 40, but he ain't gonna get you more than that. And it just so happens the couple that he did hit, one was against the Giants. That's the one that you was thinking of. He didn't score on that one, AJ. But then there was the one against the Titans that he scored. Both of those were from 40. And that's where I look at B-Rob and I understand like his value from a pass catching standpoint. He does stuff well. Like you can ask a running back to catch out of the backfield and do a couple of things. Like everybody, you can't count on every running back to catch a swing pass consistently. Like he doesn't have any drops. And like he's not the best route runner. Like that's what they got Austin Eckler for from out of the backfield. But you ask him to do some simple things and you can trust him with those. And that's kind of where I look at B-Rob in terms of why they like him so much, and why they're even deciding to running back. Like they trust him. They have faith in him for a reason. Now, granted, I think it's important to remember, Dan Quinn, he's all about competition. Like there is nothing that is going to stop anybody in that running back room, including the boy Kaz Allen himself, who really has a small percent chance to doing anything, like to even becoming the third string. But my point is competition. Like there is nothing that's going to stop anybody from becoming the a focal point in that running back room. Like it's all up to these guys. And if you do good enough, like the coaching staff is going to see it. And I think that's a testament to why B-Rob is still around, but also why they chose to, let's get a running back, right? But like if our guys aren't there early, like in the rounds in which we see the value in them, like, okay, let's get JCM in there and give him a shot. And I think for B-Rob, that's all he needs. Like he needs a shot. They're giving him a shot. But also like, don't be naive. Like the competition is still behind you, bro. And I just think that B-Rob is in a good situation, whether it's for here or for moving on elsewhere. I don't think he's a starter moving forward, but I do think that in a rotation, he adds a lot of value to your team.
Well, don't forget, James Conner was the running back for Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, right? Like, so maybe by the fact that they didn't make a move, I think kind of tells you everything they feel about either the scheme or B-Rob.
But do we?
And to be clear, I meant one thing. You got it, Dre. I just meant when I said starter though, just for clear, I meant 3 down back as in starter. He's not a 3 down back. He fits in the rotation.
But I was just gonna say, do we think that they kind of stayed pat on a B-Rob because they really like B-Rob, or they just had more pressing needs but not a lot of options to kind of move forward from B-Rob this year? That's kind of what I questioned.
I think probably the latter.
I think the latter too. I think they basically saw Trey Amos, they saw Conley kind of fall in their laps, and they went that direction. And basically, that's why they stuck with B-Rob. I think they're. AJ kind of mentioned it. I think B-Rob is a pretty solid running back, but there's a lot of missed opportunities, right? Like there is more opportunities, more explosive backs. We don't have one on the roster. You can't solve all the issues in one offseason. And I think they kind of fell with B-Rob as a running back this year, in my opinion.
But why? I don't see them in any situation, even if you with that being the case, I don't see them in any situation cutting B-Rob before the season starts.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely.
And what I mean by that, and why I pose, of course he can. But why I pose that question, why I said that though, is because like even with them having an opportunity of drafting somebody higher in the draft, they still could have went out and signed a guy. If B-Rob was a person that they didn't really care for, like they could have found somebody in the draft. I mean, in free agency, because running backs are really like they're out there. Like it's not impossible to find a guy to bring in. So that's why I say like even if there was somebody out there that they like more than B-Rob and they just so happened it didn't get him, it wasn't like they was going to cut B-Rob anyway. Like he was going to have that opportunity. He wasn't about to just fall to the wayside like off rip. So I just feel like they have their reasons for keeping B-Rob, and it's not all because there wasn't they couldn't get their better options.
Yeah, I think it's one of the position groups that you have to pay close attention to when it comes to the waiver wire when teams make that cut, because I think there's some movement that could happen there. I mean, they brought back the entire running back room. The only person they added was Jacory. So it's like you seen what you got from that group. I just think that it was the comfortability and just seeing like how this all plays out, because someone's gonna have to be, or not even someone, two people from that group are gonna have to be inactive on game day. Like if you bring everybody back, who are you making inactive? Because Jeremy McNichols plays special teams. Austin Eckler has played special teams. I mean, George, you brought up the concussion situation. Are they gonna allow him to be back there as a kick returner?
Yeah.
Don't know. Chris Rodriguez, he attempts to play special teams. B-Rob doesn't play special teams. Jacory can get an opportunity at special teams. So it's the interesting dynamic is like who makes the final roster, who ends up being active on game days, because that you didn't necessarily have that situation last year. You started not started, but you had three of those guys active most of the season, and then C-Rod was on practice squad. Now, are you willing to possibly lose them? Like I don't know. So it's definitely going to be something of interest there.
That's a solid point. To my counter, AJ, is I think three of them are locked up. Though, man. I think B-Rob's locked up. I think Eckler's locked up. I think who am I thinking? Jacory. I think they're locked up as well. So those three are locked up. So they're going to be looking for a fourth running back potentially. Like I don't think Chris Rodriguez is special. I don't know if you guys feel that way. I think he's. I
agree.
I think it's a kind of a jag kind of player. He's a solid player, but he's a dime a dozen. You can find him around the league kind of player. I think it'd be nice to kind of have someone more explosive, in my opinion. So maybe they go that direction with that. You said McNichols on special teams. They might want to keep him there, but like I just don't know if they're really chasing after a running back, in my opinion. I don't know.
And Debo could be a kick returner this year.
That's true.
He did it at San Fran last year.
Yeah. Yeah, Jalen Lane got McCaffrey too. I know you guys don't like McCaffrey, but that's another potential back there as well.
I like Luke. I like him, George.
Okay.
I like
him.
Okay.
Let's kind of tie like this one question together. I think it kind of goes hand in hand. Like the success of 2025, like what does that look like in your opinion? I think it's a good time to also play this conversation. It's a little lengthy, so I'm gonna try to. I ain't gonna play the whole thing. But Cam Newton speaking on one-hit wonders, and similarity between him and RG3. I don't know if Cam, because this would be my first time hearing it. I don't know if Cam is necessarily suggesting that there's a sophomore slump on the way, but I would love to hear how he influenced the conversation online. So let's play a clip from Cam Newton's show, Funky Friday, and then let's kind of talk about the success and obviously Jaden Daniels too.
Fear Jaden Daniels could be a potential one-hit wonder? Nah. What makes him different?
I think he loves the game too much.
But speak to me like from a DMV.
He loves the game too much. You got people that don't love the game. Mm-hmm. They love what comes with the game. That boy loves the game. Like he just loves the game. Like
seen a lot of success as a rookie season.
I worry about that with our most like CJ struggled a little bit the second year, but but the line was a little.
But I'm gonna say it in this way: there's nobody who had the game in a chokehold like Robert Griffin III. but RG3, bro, I have to tip my hat to him.
One of the GOAT rookie seasons.
No, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I see that same thing happening for Jaden, and as being in that community. Do you fear that?
I mean, I think you always fear, like we got PTSD of not winning for so long. So it's like we don't even know how to have good things. We don't know what it's like to be like having 5 primetime games this year. Like we don't know. Like so it's like there's a reason why. You know what I'm saying? And this is the kid from LSU. But so we like, damn, like, okay, when is the honeymoon over? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to think like that, but I gotta believe in like the new organization and new GM. They got plans for the new stadium, so like we going in the right direction. We trying to right them wrongs from all them years.
I ended up playing the whole thing unintentionally, but it worked out in our favor. I don't know why Cam thinks that that's in play, or the way he said it and didn't elaborate. But the floor is yours. What do you all think about 2025? And then obviously let's kind of merge the Jaden Daniels conversation into that.
I think. Oh, you
I was
go
gonna say,
ahead.
I feel bad for Wale because RG3 is his buddy, so to like have to like he didn't come right out and say RG didn't love football the same way that Jaden did, but it kind of came out and sounded that way. The things we know this, the things with Robert are totally different than what we're doing now. And also while we're at it, I'll take the CJ Stroud slump year, where they make the playoffs and win a game, and I think he's over 4,000 yards. So not sure how that equates to a slump year, but I'd take that when I don't. This kid does too much. I think he's right. He loves football too much to not be putting in the work. I mean, they sent all the verbiage to his quarterback coach so that they could make sure that everybody's speaking the same language while he's not in town. Like little things like that add up, and I think it's important.
Yeah, I think Cam's just trying to stir the pot, get Funky Fridays out there so we can see his outfits. But I mean, I think when you look at Jaden Daniels, the football player, and also off the field as far as the work that he's doing, where's the true weakness in his game? And I'm not saying this just because, we both do like a Washington Commanders podcast and I'm a fan of the team, but I really can't sit back here and say he has a true weakness. He could throw the ball anywhere on the field. Like he has the arm strength, he has the intelligence to be able to read coverage as well. He can also run the ball. He did a great job of keeping himself in season and not getting hurt. Like he didn't take any big
I was gonna
shots.
say he did rip his knee up at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's like you don't have any injury that he's bouncing back from. The entire coaching staff is returning as well. Then you've also added guys like a Lermy Tunsil, who has been known as one of the best left tackles in the NFL in the last decade, alongside Trent Williams. You add in a Deebo Samuel into the mix, who is known as the Yak King. He's been number one in Yak over the last 5 seasons. And on top of that, like just the familiarity with the coaching staff. Like this is now he knows what to expect from the NFL. Last year he was a rookie. You don't know what to expect. He's just doing what he needs to do. So it's interesting to me from that standpoint. It's like I can't pinpoint on any negatives. I just think that as far as like the overall season, it has to be Super Bowl. I mean, if you got to the conference championship with Olamide Zaccheaus, Dahami Brown, and a poor defense, like it has to be the Super Bowl. When you make these adjustments and these trades and you acquire certain players, you're building out your defensive line to really stop the run heavily. Like it has to be the Super Bowl. Like that's the only answer. I mean, even conference championship might be okay, but you need to get to the Super Bowl. If you got to the conference championship game with what you did last year with that roster in year one, you should be able to repeat that and more this year with adding more talent into the mix and also having the same staff in place.
Yeah, I mean, I hate when people bring up RG3 in reference to Jaden Daniels because the two situations couldn't be more different. I mean, we know it. We lived through that era. We watched it. We paid attention to everything. I mean, RG3, even going into 2013, there was still those little riffs and those comments that, the Shanahans weren't all fully in on him and they like Kirk Cousins, and then there was the issue where we're worried if he's going to be coming back the same, all in for week one. He's coming off a serious knee injury. We don't have any of that with Jaden Daniels. And on top of that, as great as the RG3 season was, I was a huge fan. I had the jersey and everything. Jaden Daniels' season was even better. There's no debate about who had the better rookie year. We're talking about probably the best rookie year of all time that Jaden Daniels just completed. So, I think it's a lazy kind of thing to bring up in comparison because it just leaves out a lot of nuance and context with that conversation. And yeah, that's probably Cam staring the pot. But then again, I've also seen Cam kind of throwing some shade, this past year. Like, it's almost like Cam feels like something about his legacy is going to be threatened if a guy like Jaden Daniels comes out. That's just the way I perceive it. It seems like, but that's that. But as far as this season, I'm not going to say Super Bowl or bust. I just think they need to keep building on what they did last season. And I do think that means they definitely should be a playoff team again this year. But you got a tougher schedule.
But Dre, I got to cut you off. Keep building on what? If you got to the
year 2, AJ.
The Super Bowl.
If we don't go to the Super Bowl this year, are you going to talk about Jaden Daniels in year 2 like you talk about Lamar Jackson in year 7 or 8 or whatever year he's in?
I'm gonna say the overall season for the team was a failure. It's not focused on Jaden Daniels.
They broke records for how many times they made it.
This was an overachieving team last year.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dre. I agree with that.
That fourth down luck can't continue this year. Just the numbers say it can't. They broke records last year.
Yeah, I think
for how many times they got it on fourth down. How many times they started the 5-yard line and truck it all the way up and down the field. That's why I brought up explosiveness earlier. Super Bowl or bust. Come on.
That's high standards right there. You guys hit the nail on the head. I think everything you guys said is correct. I loved RG3. I thought the 2012 season was a lot of fun. It was really exciting, but we're overlooking the fact that he ran a gimmick offense. I don't want to shit on him too bad, but they had that zone read. They had that running offense with Kyle Shanahan. They had Alfred Morris, a 1,600-yard running back to supplement RG3 there as well. I think Jaden Daniels came out more refined. He's more of a established quarterback. He had more games under his belt in college. And I think Dre kind of alluded to it. They're insulating Jaden Daniels, and they're like the flagship on how to develop a quarterback, right? They're basically like same offensive system, same offensive coordinator. They're adding to the offensive line, protecting him more. They're giving him a weapon in Deebo Samuel, as AJ kind of alluded to. He's set up for success, and that's not even touching on the fact that Jaden Daniels has a great work ethic, right? We know about the VR use. We know about how much time he gets in there at 4 o'clock in the morning. He's grinding, putting in the hours. He cares, and Cliff Kingsbury cares, and there's synergy there where like Kyle Shanahan and RG3 did not have that. So I think there's continuity. I think there's belief. I think there's a culture being built. Jaden Daniels has some I think is a great processor, so behind a better offensive line. He's a better pocket passer than RG3 was, in my opinion. So I think it's going to be a pretty seamless transition. But I think success, to answer the question, it's going to be hard, man. We're playing the NFC North, which I think is the toughest division in all of football. We're playing the AFC West, which is probably the second hardest division in all of football. And we basically, last year, we won 6 games where the score was 7 points or less in regard to differentiation. So, let's say if we go 3-3, that's 9-8. We basically that 12-5 falls to 9-8. It's a completely different outlook, right? So, all the bounces kind of went our way last year. I think we might be a better overall team next year, but things might not work out. So, I'm hoping double-digit wins, 10-7, 11-6, something like that. Playoffs is kind of what I hope, and I think that should be our benchmark. If we don't make the playoffs next year, I think that will be a disappointing season. If we make the playoffs, all right, that's great, because that means Jaden Daniels is legit, and that's kind of the number one question we should all be looking at. We want Jaden Daniels to put up 2 back-to-back years. We want to have a franchise quarterback going to playoffs. We haven't gone to the playoffs back-to-back since the Super Bowl season. I don't know if you guys even thought about that yet. 91. So that's how bad the team has been. So back-to-back years, consistency, that's a home run in my opinion.
I think the luck factor, man, is definitely something that anybody that was familiar with this team in 2024 can't ignore going into this year. It's okay to be excited, and I think I'm super excited with like the start of the season, seeing how Washington stacks up against the best divisions outside of the NFC East. Mm-hmm. Like that's literally what this is that we're going up against. And honestly, we can't forget about the NFC East itself. Like you mentioned the North, the NFC North, the AFC West, and then you got 3 dog ass teams. Well, 2, and then I do got respect for the Giants. I ain't gonna lie to you. Specifically that defense. I ain't
It's a
gonna-
roster without a quarterback. That's a good
I'm about to
roster.
say y'all know how
Yeah.
y'all know how I feel. Y'all know how I feel about Russell Wilson. I don't fuck that. But but to the point, like Washington is in a situation where you're going up against better quarterbacks, better defensive lines or better defenses overall. Like the run game, you got another set of dog ass teams with great running back situations and great rushing situations that you're immediately getting tested up against, because that was your number one issue last year as the season went along. Is like, we can't stop the run for anything. And I think for Washington, this is an opportunity to see, like, all right, well, if your defense got moderately better, just how much can this second year quarterback and this offense that or team that has insulated that second year quarterback, as you mentioned, George, like how much have they done this offseason to keep this ship afloat? But that's the bare minimum. Like, how much have they done to where they can consistently win on a week-to-week basis, or have chances to win, if not like dominate certain teams just like they did last year? It's not going to be any easier. It's going to be harder given the circumstances and context that we mentioned. But you're going to have to put on a show again and make sure that you put your best foot forward on a week-to-week basis to make sure that this team is a consistent winner in 2025. So from an expectation standpoint, I can't remember my exact floor that we did, Dre and AJ, but I did say I saw playoffs, and I did say 10 wins. I just don't remember if that was the floor or the ceiling. I would assume that it's the floor that I mentioned. I'd have to go back and look. But I did say playoffs for sure. I don't think this is one of those teams that is going to drastically fall off. I think that what we saw in Jaden Daniels, despite the lack of talent last year that he had, I think what we see in Jaden Daniels is real. I don't think that's a fluke, and I think his preparation and his abilities to like really show up when it matters, I don't think that goes away. I think that this is something that's here to stay, and that gives you a chance every single week.
Well, let me ask AJ this, because I'm still flabbergasted by Super Bowl or bust. Now, if they don't go to the Super Bowl this year, AJ, do you start putting a Dan Quinn on the hot seat?
Nah, that's not what
I mean,
I'm
it's
saying.
a disappointment, you know.
That's not what I'm saying, bro. Like, he would be going into his second year with Washington, so if he got to the conference championship game and they fell short of the Super Bowl and they still made a playoff berth, that's nothing to speak about being fired. But the reason why you're making certain moves is because you feel like these additional moves, such as Marshawn, was really a deal for this year, not even last year. Like, Marshawn clearly was hurt. So you go and acquire a Lermy Tunsil, a Debo Samuel. You go and shore up the offensive line, your first round pick. You take a Josh Connolly Jr., move him to right tackle, Brandon Coleman left guard. You now, in the second round, you had the benefit of a Trey Amos, who you were considering taking in the first round, dropping and taking him. And like I said, with the additions, your quarterback play and the continuity is the main reason that this also gives them an additional edge in the NFC overall. Like, yes, the Eagles have had a better roster. They have more elite players. But when you look at the landscape of the rest of the NFC, like, the only other team the only other team really returning everyone is the Rams as far as the coaching staff. Because even Tampa Bay lost their offensive coordinator, who's now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, there's changes that happen all across the league. That's just where I feel like the reason why a lot of this staff came back, because they could have went elsewhere, was because they believed that they could win a Super Bowl. So that's where I just think that it's Super Bowl or bust. Like, am I gonna be saying fire Adam Peters and Dan Quinn? Nah, this ain't Ron. If I could sit back and watch Ron Rivera for that long, we could sit back and watch Dan Quinn have some failures under his belt. But honestly, when you're making these moves for all pro players, you're telling me that I feel like these are the next final pieces to get us over the hump to actually compete in a Super Bowl. Not win the Super Bowl, but be in the Super Bowl and have an opportunity. Like that's just how I think. Because then why are we making moves for Debo Samuel, Laramie Tunsil? Like what are we doing this for?
To answer your question from my perspective, I think this year is all about proving that they belong. I mean, I think last year was like, hey, we're arriving. We're not a joke anymore. Now this year, I think that's why I say playoffs at least is the benchmark for this season, because if you do that 2 years in a row, you're letting everyone know that you're probably here to stay. Like you're going to be around a long time to do this. I mean, because when I look at, the Buffalo Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals, those type of teams, they're now winning Super Bowls, but they're in that conversation every year. And I think that's the biggest goal of this season, is to kind of say that we are at least in that group where you're talking about the Buffalo Bills, where you're talking about the Ravens, the Bengals, where we're going to be a threat and we're going to be in that conversation every year. Now, if they go out and win the damn Super Bowl this year, which is not impossible at all, and I do hope that happens, obviously, if they do that, that'd be great. But I just wouldn't put that as my benchmark expectation for year 2.
So let me ask y'all real quick. From what they did last year with the roster, the new head coach, new GM, all of those things, them getting to a conference championship game doesn't mean that they're here, that they've arrived already, or they have to repeatedly do it, like a Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs.
You got plenty of one-hit wonders.
Buffalo Hill.
You got to repeat it. You got to repeat it, in my opinion. Like the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl or the AFC Championship that one year. They blew up, and all of a sudden they've been off, up and down for the past couple of years. They have Joe Burrow, right? So I like what Dre's saying. I think you and I are on the same wavelength. It'll be fantastic. I see where you're at, AJ, too. Like we have a better roster, more continuity. Everything's lining up for a potential Super Bowl run. But I just think it's so hard to get to the Super Bowl. We're seeing like Dan Marino and, Peyton Manning only winning one Super Bowl and things like that. It's such a elusive thing to get. It's hard to say a linear progression going from NFC Championship to Super Bowl the next year. I don't think it's a straight line like that. So it goes up and down.
I mean, we just said, what's the dude's name? Not Blaine Gabbert. Who was the dude? Blake Bortles go to the toe-to-toe against the New England Patriots in the AFC title game, and they legitimately got robbed for a Super Bowl.
No more after that.
They never made it back.
Yeah. That's funny.
Well, I mean, I guess to on my quick answer, I think I'll just piggyback off Dre and George. I'm just in that boat. I don't think it's as linear. I think every season is honestly itself. And you can't really predict how the playoffs ends, but the indicative of success is being able to give yourself a chance by getting to the playoffs. And I think that's what is indicative of a good team is how you do on those 17. And obviously being a contender is how you do in the playoffs in the big dance. And honestly, I think to that extent, like as much as I get frustrated with the Buffalo Bills, like they're a legit contender. There's just a certain team in their way that gets in their way every single time, but like they're a legitimate contender. The Ravens, to an extent, I think they cool, but I think they're still technically a contender. Like I'm not going to knock them completely, but you get what I'm saying. Like there are teams that are legitimate contenders year in and year out. And I just think that's kind of how you should view it. And honestly, like Detroit, if they wasn't banged up this year, they have a better shot of doing things in the playoffs. And obviously that will be at the expense of Washington because if we played them in the second round. Like who knows what that game would have looked like if they were at full strength. But you get what I'm saying. Like they are a legitimate contender and things may be changed moving forward, but you get my point.
Hey, fellas, real quick. Thank you for the invite. I got to run real quick. Sorry about that, but this was been awesome. Yep, and I appreciate you guys with the invite.
Do your thing, Doug. We're going to make sure that George plug everything. I appreciate you joining us, boss man. Do what you got to do.
All right, fellas. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And honestly, we could leave it there for everybody that's in the chat. Appreciate y'all watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on both sides. We are streaming on the Big Doug and Carmi's YouTube. We're also streaming obviously on Chop It Outfit. That's the subscribe button on both ends. We also have their link in our YouTube description and I think in the title, the show title. So go ahead and take care of that. Doug, I want to give you Carmi, I want to give you the floor. Just to plug anything else that we're missing, man. It was good again to have y'all on, man. Appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on. You guys are high respect, man. Every time I see you guys on, you guys have big guests, good conversations, highly high IQ, football IQ. I really appreciate working with you guys. So we definitely got to do it again. We should do it maybe in August or something before the training camp or something like that. So thank you for having us on. We do the Big Doug and Carmi show. We do our show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We typically do around 3 or 4 o'clock. Our breakdown during the season is we're going to do Monday recap of the game right after Sunday football. I'm going to do film breakdowns of Mark Bullock on every Wednesday. Mark's awesome. I'm sure you guys have followed his work. It's great. He's awesome. So we're going to be doing that. And then Friday, we're going to be trying to get local media on and kind of previewing the upcoming game. It's going to be our schedule coming into the season. Summer's always up and down. There really isn't a lot going on right now. So we're kind of chugging along. But, definitely give us a follow on YouTube, the Big Doug and Carmi show. I'm G Carmi 21 and Big Doug NFL for Twitter for Doug over there. Thanks, fellas.
Boom. There it is, man. Dre, AJ, as always, good to chop it up with y'all boys. We got a couple guests that I'm trying to swing by before training camp, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Until the meantime, enjoy that break. We got 20 days till the start of training camp. So yeah, take it easy. Enjoy y'all evening, all that good stuff. We about here.
Chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.